All right, we are back. Um, we're gonna call this take two here of Ren's Training Camp Journal. We were talking about the mock game. We're mostly gonna, I think, Ren, get to the mailbag questions. You kind of put it out there. This will be a mailbag show. Now we understand why, and we'll get there. But let's go back. Start us back. With where we finished. We'll just kind of pick up from where we left off. I want to say welcome back to the viewers who have been so gracious to jump back in with us. So welcome, guys. You guys throw something up in the chat. We're monitoring the chat. We will interact with you as well there. But Ren, start with us. Start with you weren't able to make it. Training camp closed like right after you got there. But you were saying from the looks of it, from the tweets and the different things that you were following. Let's start there, and we'll pick it up from there.
Sure, it wasn't like a mock game. Like I actually, someone asked the question when we were live at $1, like, what do you think that's going to look like? And I guess it would be like a scrimmage. Like the offense would try to move the ball and score touchdowns. The defense stopped them. The offense would either punt or kick a field goal, and then the offense would come back. Just sort of switch sides of the field, and they'd rotate in the ones versus the ones, the twos versus the twos, and that's how it would go. But from what I can gather, it was a lot of like I don't want to say trick plays, but plays that don't come up a lot. Sort of like trying to score a touchdown, like either score a touchdown or you lose. Like it's under 4 seconds in the game, you're like on the 15-yard line. So they ran those. They ran onside kicks. They ran hiking to Brian Anger, and he runs out of the back of the end zone to take a safety. So it wasn't a scrimmage per se, but there wasn't any of these individual drills that, once you've been to 1 or 2 training camps, that's the time to like go get a soda, go use the restroom.
Right.
Jersey.
Let me ask you this about that, because I think this is what kind of it bugs me a little bit about it. Was the term mock game a bad term for them to use? Or was that really kind of what they were doing? I mean, they were mocking through a game. Like, is that what was happening, you think? Or did they lie to us? That's what I want to know. Did they lie to us?
I think it was misleading at best, or at worst. I guess depends on who is saying it.
Yeah, let's say at worst. At worst, they're misleading us.
Yes. Because I think my explanation was sort of spot on about what everyone else was thinking or hoping they would get out of this, semi-exclusive practice. Now, the Buccaneers don't owe us anything, don't owe club members anything, fans. So basically it was like, hey, this is what we are going to do. If you'd like to come and watch it, you're more than, here's a ticket to come and watch it. But yeah, the term mock game, I guess if you went by sort of the strict definition, you could say what they did today falls under that. But once again, what I feel that I thought I was going to see, and I'm going on I don't think I'm going too far on a limb saying that what other fans thought they were going to see just wasn't the same thing. Now, is it a disappointment? Probably a little bit. But, you still got to go indoors. You still got to sit down in the air conditioning. You still got to see a lot of cool drills with the, situational football of either score or the game's over. Like, those are fun to watch, because a lot of times you're watching 11 on 11s and it's a 5-yard swing pass to the running back and the linebacker comes up and tags him on the waist and the play's over. With this one, where you got to see Fitzpatrick run it, you got to see Jameis run it, and you got to see Ryan Griffith run it. So you probably got to see 20 plays, maybe even 25 plays of like either a touchdown or no. So those are fun to watch. So I guess you could say from one point it was a letdown, but I'm sure everyone that was there, once that sort of oh, this isn't what I expected, had a good time.
And it's one of those things like when somebody says something, just because they put out what their thought of what that is does not necessarily mean that my expectation is the same thing of what they're saying. And when I can imagine it from a marketing standpoint, when they say, okay, what are we going to call this day? And we're going to give this exclusive access to our members or club members or whatever level it was that was required today. What do we call it? And maybe because Dirk Cutter said this is their Friday practice, and they're mocking game situations. I get that. So maybe internally they actually call their Friday practice as a mock game. I don't know. I don't know if that's true or not, but I tend to like to give people the benefit of the doubt. So I don't want to sit back and say that they're just trying to mislead everybody, but at the same time,
they didn't go on a limb to fully explain what was happening.
Right. And then, when Greg Altman asked about it, he kind of, I don't want to say he got taken to the cleaners, but he took a little guff for it,
Yeah.
And that's honestly, it's why I came home. So,
and then when you found out what actually was going to happen, you're like, yeah, I'm going to go home and see my kids.
Yeah. I'm going to,
I'll
be back.
I don't want to watch. I don't want to watch onside kick drills for 12 minutes.
Right. That's not worth the added time for me to be away from the family right now. So, okay. So was there?
That was it, man.
Do I need to ask? Was there anything that jumped out at you or anything like
no,
that?
I saw like 4 plays.
Cool.
2 of them were incomplete. 2 of them were complete. Yeah. Lampman caught one and Bobo caught one. Lampman caught one and Bobo Wilson caught one. And then Watson got one broken up by Myers, and I don't remember what the other one was.
Okay.
That's all I saw.
So I've got you asked fans to send in questions as a mailbag. So let's go ahead and turn the page. Let's do that, and we'll close up for today because we've got some other stuff coming up content wise later on today. Anyway,
we got a busy day, man.
There's several that have come in through the Pewtercast Twitter feed. Ren, do you want to go with those first, or do you want to tackle ones that maybe you personally got? How do you want to do this?
How about we'll start with the ones that I got.
Okay.
And then if there's some repeats, you can sort of scratch those off on your end.
Sure.
Did we get any emails?
No emails, no. And okay. I just kind of threw that out on Twitter, like, hey, if you want to shoot it as an email, go ahead and email me, and I'll make sure that Ren gets it. But yeah, we didn't get any emails. Everything kind of came through Twitter.
Okay, well, now I'm going to go ahead and refresh my Twitter. And I'm calling it. That is the end of the questions that are coming in. So let me bring up my original tweet, and here we go. All right, the first one comes from Derek Brook with an E, not an S, so it's just not Derek Brooks. At Bobby_Sags, it says, it sounds as if training camp has been more physical this year than last. Who has stood out as being the most physical on bringing the most energy? Wow, I should do that again. That hosting stuff's hard, huh, Brett?
It is, isn't it?
It sounds as if training camp has been more physical this year than last. Who has stood out as being the most physical or bringing the most energy? And Brett, I'll go ahead and let you start answering that one.
The most physical.
Well, first off, have you seen that this year's training camp is more physical than last?
I think so.
Okay.
I think so. The pops are louder, the crunches are louder. Again, we're not tackling to the ground. It's not full on tackling drills, but I got to tell you, watching the D line and O line go at it, they're not holding back either. I mean, they're getting in there and digging out some dirt between each other. They're messing up the field. You know what I'm talking about? So, yes, I do think it's more physical. I don't think that they're fully simulating everything that would happen in a game either, though. But that said, honestly, who's bringing the most energy? Let's ask that. I know your question is more directed towards players, but I've got to actually put this one on 2 coaches, and that Skylar Fulton, the wide receivers coach, that man is bringing so much energy. It's unbelievable. But also Brinston Buckner. And, we talk about these 2 guys all the time. Truthfully, I think their energy is rubbing off on the rest of training camp. As far as players go, honestly, I think Jameis is bringing a ton of energy, at least for the 2 days that we were there, Ren. I know that we kind of heard reports that he was a little bit down the first couple of days, and that's understandable given everything that's been going on. But Jameis is really, I talked about this, I think, on yesterday's show. Jameis is he's the first one to the drills. He's the first one, into the huddle. He's the last one off the field. It's people are coming up to meet his level. And so he has that. I think also as far as physical, one player that has stood out to me as being very physical is Mitch Unrein. And as much as he doesn't like to talk, he is at least leaving it out on the field. And so yeah, so those are the two I'm going to go with, Unrein and Jameis.
I'm going to go a little bit different, probably across the board. I don't think this training camp is any more physical than it was last year. I think it's a little more focused. I would say that there's not so much. I don't want to say goofing around, but it seems that players are in the drills longer. You don't see as much as if there's a position drill and you're not actively in the position drill right then you're sort of not walking away, or you're not paying attention, or I mean by you, I mean the player's walking away, the player's not paying attention, or the player might be talking to a Hard Knocks camera. If you're not actually in the drill as it goes, everyone's watching, everyone's learning, everyone's getting coached up at all times.
Would you say this is this year more disciplined than last year?
It feels like it.
Yeah.
But I just it I just I don't feel that I've seen enough, and I don't feel that I had enough access last year to be able to answer that question honestly. It would just be more of a feeling. Like I can't give you examples of this is why it's more disciplined, or this is why it's less disciplined. Now, the players who still have to be the most physical, bringing the most energy, you always got to mention Quan. I mean, the first time he put on pads, he was right out of the gate. He was popping people. And JPP he's a big, strong man, and he's nearly unblockable. And so when you see him go on one-on-one drills, since they're the same size, the guy he's going against, but when you take a step back and think about it, the ease that he can just sort of extend his arms and twist a 320, 330, 350 pound man just out of his way.
Yeah.
Like it was a tackling dummy. It's when you start, think about it in those terms, you're like, that's a strong, big dude. And so those are the two I'm going to go ahead and answer that question with.
Fair enough.
All right, number 2. This is Steven with a 5, or is that a V? It's a capital V.
V. Yeah.
It could be Roman numeral 5. Anyway, his handles. I'm just kidding. I know it's Steven with a V. We've been going back and forth, playing with him. At 813 Steven. Is Justin Watson still doing well? Also, I heard Sitchy practice without his brace for the first time. How does his movement and speed look? Thanks, you guys are killing it! Exclamation point. Thanks, Stephen with a V. Stephen. I'm going to let you go ahead first because you actually talked to Justin Watson.
I did get to talk to Justin Watson. And thanks again, Stephen. Appreciate your support. And thank you for letting us know that we are killing it.
Stephen with a 5.
Try to do what we can. We've had lots of positive feedback over the last couple of days, Ren. And we appreciate every single bit of it. So,
yeah, just to cut you off, we have, and it's been a little overwhelming to say the least about people telling us how great we're doing, and wishing like God, I wish I was you, or like I'm trying to get to that same spot you are, and it just feels good, I guess, to say.
Yeah, and there's other people who maybe not necessarily want to be where we are. They just appreciate what we're able to bring them. So, and again, this is where I feel. I don't want to say obligated, but I want to say thank you again to the Buccaneers organization for allowing us to have the credentials for the last couple of days. Let's do it again sooner rather than later. All right, Justin Watson is the question. Well, okay, I'm going to say this about Sitchy because I can knock that out pretty quick. You are correct. He practiced yesterday without a brace for the first time.
Who asked that question?
Somebody in one of the press conferences.
That was me.
Oh, was it? Oh, it was you.
That was my question.
So for me personally, I have not noticed Sitchy. So I can't speak to how he's looking, except to just say Cutter and Mike Smith both confirmed that he has been impressing them. He went without the brace, and from the sounds of it, we talked about this a little bit on our show yesterday, Ren. He's going to be competing for that last linebacker spot. and he's gonna knock out either Devontae Bond or Riley Bullough. It's one of those two, and don't be surprised if he does knock out one of those two. Or it's possible Sitchy could have a redshirt year. That's also possible as well. Justin Watson, I think, is another potential redshirt for the year as well. I talked to him yesterday. It was more jovial, honestly. It was more just kind of about his rookie experience so far. I didn't want to get in front of him and be like, hey, so that's a big, that's a tough room. How do you think you're actually going to make the team? Like, I'm not going to ask him that.
You have no shot at making the team, right?
Right. Yeah. We're not saying that. I'm not saying that at all. But he is like I said, another potential red shirt. Justin Watson's a guy that could find himself landed on the practice squad, and they could hide him there for a while. I think I did notice him. He's doing okay. I watched Skylar Fulton, talking to him, kind of coaching him up a bit. But he is not going to beat out either of the top four, and so at that point, we're really talking about Martino, Bernard Reedy, Bobo Wilson, who have all been with the team before. And then you got the new guy, Justin Watson. I think at this point, it really is a matter of who can contribute on special teams, who's got the better ceiling. And that's going to be the deciding factor. In his favor, I think Reedy and Martino both have kind of they have shown their ceiling with where they're going to go. But they are also two guys who have been around for a while and know the system. So it really could go either way.
Yeah, I'm 100% with you on your Justin Watson, analogy there, or a little breakdown about how you feel about him. And I'm right, like I said, I'm right there with you. He's a little bigger than most of the wide receivers we have in camp. He's plenty quick. He gets some separation. His hands are good. They're not great, as in anything gets close to him, he's bringing it in. But the ones he does drop are more of bad throws than him dropping them. I would have to say all of them. But the biggest thing I think that Watson has going for him is that Jason Light likes him. Well, of course he likes me drafting him, but no, he actually made it a point in an interview to tell the interviewer that he had mentioned Justin Watson to the Glazers even before the draft. Like, this was a guy he was targeting in the later rounds, and he was able to get him. So I don't think there's any way that Justin Watson gets cut off this team. Hello?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right, your mic just went way hot.
Oh, sorry about that.
It's all right. Because either, like Brent said, it's either going to the practice squad, or he's going to be redshirted, or he's, they're just, he's going to be on the team this year somehow, unless he gets plucked off the practice squad. I just don't think there's any way that I can see they just sort of pluck him up. And then as far as Sitchy, Brent covered it. I really can't add anything to it. I really wasn't watching a lot of the middle linebacker. I wasn't really watching a lot of the middle linebacker second string play.
I'm sorry, guys. You want what, baby? You want to what? You want to get in the bathtub?
Hang on, family moment.
Give me, Ren, continue the show. Talk to the people in the chat room. I'll be right back. Let me take care of that. This is part of the danger of doing this in the day, which is what was so helpful about me actually coming to your place. Give me just a sec, guys.
Sure. I'm just going to go ahead and continue on with the questions. So, all right. So I hope that answers your question, Stephen, with a V. We're going to move on to Chris, which is at TB_Bucks_4, the number 4 life, which is, we like to call him Alaska Chris on our show. Chris from Alaska, which will be soon Chris in Virginia very soon. He actually put in 3 questions. Thank you very much. Who has been a surprise player for you through training camp so far? Wow, I should have pre-read that one. Let's see who's been a surprise. I hate to keep harping on this, but the first person that pops in my head is Chris Godwin, and not that he's been a surprise player, but how well he's doing. He looks like an all-pro, Pro Bowl type receiver in practice. Those 2 days we got to cover him real close. throw it anywhere in this kid's zip code, he was coming down with it. And I'm talking about like tipped balls and cornerbacks grabbing his face mask while he's making, a circus catch. I saw him a ball that was short that he had to reach around the defensive back and catch it and then pull it back over the defensive back's head to bring it down. And those plays were like 4 or 5 plays apart. He's getting separation. He's making the contested catches, and then the contested catches that are real tough catches, he's making those as well. And when you make those catches, all you're doing is building trust with the quarterback. So when there gets to a point where a quarterback trusts a receiver so much where he's uncoverable. Yeah, when you watch a tape, the guy was covered, but the quarterback knows if I throw it to him, he's somehow going to come up with that ball, and because that's how much I've trusted him, because I've seen him do it time and time and time again in practice. Someone who I guess Alex Kappa would probably be more along the lines of the question that you were asking, because we didn't hear a lot about him. We didn't see a lot about him in social media. The first day I was there, I was going to ask Cutter that the question about Kappa and Benedict, and does Kappa have a real shot at getting the starting job week 1 in New Orleans, or is Benedict's like NFL game experience and trust he's built up with the coaching staff these past years just a little too much for Kappa to overcome? And it was my first press conference, and I was terrified, and I didn't ask the question. I didn't say anything. And then we come out the next day for day 2 that we were there, and Kappa is now with the ones. And so it was like, oh, well, I would have been great to ask that question yesterday. But so once Kappa got started with the ones, everyone started paying attention that day. Like, okay, let's see what this is all about. And I was the only one who ran across the other side of the field and watched and took some film of the one-on-ones, which was offensive linemen versus defensive tackles and ends, and guards and tackles against defensive tackles and ends. And Kappa, he stoned McCoy twice in a row that I didn't get video of. There's a video of him stoning JPP originally, gets reset, and then sort of JPP overpowers him and goes over the top of him. And I still think that's a win for Capo, because he didn't, even though I guess if it's a judo match, yeah, JPP won, but it's not. It's a get to the quarterback and not get to the quarterback. And JPP didn't get to the quarterback that rep. It wasn't as impressive as the McCoys. And then when Kappa went against everybody else that I remember, he just locked them up. It's like the initial contact maybe took a step or two back, but had the defensive tackle under control the whole entire time. And and it was, he wasn't going backwards. Like after first couple initial steps of absorbing the blow, it was just came to a stalemate. Is that you, Brent? You back?
I am back.
All right.
I am back. Yes.
Well, I've only gotten to the next question from Chris in Alaska. We like to call him TB_Bucks_number 4 for life. Which is, who has been a surprise player for you through training camp so far?
I'll tell you, JPP.
All right.
And I'll tell you why.
I didn't say that. Good. Go ahead.
Yeah. I knew JP. I have often said that I'm a Buccaneers fan, so I don't really follow other players. I don't follow other teams. So I knew JPP was a good player. I knew that he was one of the top defensive ends in the league, right?
Mm-hmm.
I know he blew his hand apart in fireworks accident, but I knew that didn't stop him, and he came back even better than ever. I did not know how good he was. Like, I mean, and he's old, right? Like, he's getting old, like Gerald McCoy old, right? Like towards the end of his career, kind of a thing. Yeah, this guy is big, and he is explosive. He is unblockable. Why they let him go for a 3rd round pick, I don't understand. Now maybe we'll understand come the end of the season. I don't know, but I feel like Jason Light got a absolute steal out of JPP for a 3rd round pick.
We will see.
So that's been my biggest surprise.
All right. That's fair. Chris had 2 more questions,
Yeah.
and this one I think is going to be interesting for us to answer. If you were in Dirk Cutter's shoes, how would you approach the preseason reps between Jameis and Fitz?
You want me to go first?
Sure.
I would do it exactly the way Cutter's doing it right now.
All right.
You give Fitz the ones, give Griffin the twos, slide him into threes when need be, and then get Jameis to rotate. I think it's brilliant. It's not an idea that I don't know that I would have come up with that idea. I might have, I don't know. But when I think it gives us the best of all possibilities. It gets Fitzy ready for day one because we've still got to face those first 3 games, right? It also keeps Jameis moving and keeps him getting reps with the ones and actually gives him a chance to get reps with everybody on the team. The person that I think it probably winds up hurting the most actually is Ryan Griffin, because he's not getting all of the work with the number 2s. You know what I mean? Also, the fact that we now know that if you add up the number of reps, Jameis is still getting the most reps out of everybody. And I think Cutter is very, very wise in understanding the idea that Fitzpatrick is a very long-term veteran. He doesn't need as many reps. So it's okay to siphon some of those and give those to Jason or to Jameis.
Right.
I really like what Cutter's doing. I hope it's going to work out. I'd be interested to see how it's going to work out. But, this is one of those. I think this is a point of brilliance in coaching to me.
All right. That's fair. I'm going to go a little different route.
Okay.
I like what Cutter's doing, but as I personally would have done it, I'm a little more old school in these type of things where if you not only there's a difference between if you've done something wrong and it only hurts yourself till you've done something wrong and it hurts others. And now Jameis has done something wrong and it's hurt a lot of other people. And of course the closest people he's hurt is the coaching staff and his teammates because not being there for the first 3 games, and then extend that to the entire Buccaneer fan base, and that gets into the hundreds of thousands, possibly millions of people. So this is what I would have done. I would have sat Jameis down. I told him exactly what we are going to do before training camp, so it wouldn't have been a surprise. I would not have given Jameis a rep with the ones or the twos for the first week. He would run with the threes. He would be the third quarterback. I would treat him like Ryan Griffin if it was just a normal year.
Okay.
And because and I would tell him, like, don't act like a baby. Like, I'm going to be watching the way you act. You need to stand up. You need to still be Jameis. You need to keep being excited and talking to guys behind the scenes and charging the troops, but you're not getting your shot because you lost that chance, and now you have to earn the trust back with me. You have to earn the trust back with your teammates, and you have to earn the trust back with the fans, and this is your penance is get back there, play third string, and don't pout and don't be a baby about it. And then I would say, based on your actions for that first week, then we'll start to see about you rotating into which would something like I said. I don't know if I would have thought of it. I probably would, but sort of what we're seeing now, where he's getting like 25% of the plays with the ones, 25% of the plays with the twos, and he's getting all the other reps with all the other reps that he gets is with the threes.
Yeah, I understand that. I really do.
Good. So let's move on.
Well, I do want to. I really wonder if there's not other conversations that have happened about the whole situation between Cutter and Jameis and Light and the rest of the organization. Things that can't be made public, that have to stay private.
Of course,
but ones that might mitigate further punitive action on Jameis. Because like a lot of what you're talking about, I get where you're going with that, but some of that sounds very.
No. You mean punitive action? You mean like in the court of law? Is that what you're talking about?
No, I mean punitive as in punish. You did this. This is the situation we're in, so we're going to punish you by making you go with the threes.
Right. Yes.
Right. That's punitive. So that's what I mean. I wonder if I just wonder. I don't know. I have no evidence. Just a little bit of hearsay that I can't put out there, but that makes me wonder if there's not something that has kind of mitigated some of that extra punitive stuff.
Example.
I
Okay,
I
good
got to be
job.
honest with you. Okay, I'm all right. I'm going to be honest with you.
Sure.
I still wonder if if Jameis still privately and to other people deny the allegations and says it wasn't me. Now he might have said, "Okay, we'll compromise, we'll do this because he's following whatever protocol, and the NFL is going to come down and do it anyway." And his advisors, his management team, or whatever, they came in and said, "No, you've kind of got to take this." But he maybe even negotiated that. I'm
Okay,
never
okay,
confessing
Brent,
that.
Brent, Brent,
That's
Brent.
what I'm saying.
Brent, no, we've talked about this till we're blue in the face.
Uh
Okay,
huh.
I told you my plan. You had some reservations about it. What are your reservations about my plan?
No. My reservations are that because your plan is punitive, is
Yeah.
is punishing him, that maybe Cutter doesn't actually believe that Jameis needs to be further punished. Is what I'm saying. But maybe Cutter believes that Jameis didn't do it. That's what I'm saying. And I don't know. I don't know. I please
It,
don't.
yeah, yeah,
So
I got you.
you
But it
see what
does.
I'm saying?
It doesn't matter if he believes him or not. He put himself in a situation where he's not there for the first 3 games, which possibly put every single person on that coaching staff and front office jobs on the line,
It's
including the
possible.
player. And if you're not
Yeah.
a superstar player, I mean, so I don't care if I believe you or not. It doesn't matter. These are the facts. These are the things that are in front of us, and this is what you're going to do. So everybody sees that you screwed up. That's how it works.
I
It's not like, oh, well, you screwed up, but it wasn't as bad that I did when I was that age, and I got away with it.
yeah,
So
no,
I'm
I'm
gonna
not
be the
talking
cool.
about that.
I'm gonna be the cool dad, and I don't want to embarrass you in front of the press. Like, screw that, man. This is what you did, and this is the punishment for it. Like I said, I'm a little more old school than the rest, but uh, I, I'm not really sure what you're going, where you're going with that. Like,
Cool.
I
Well,
don't.
let's move on. it's
Okay.
it's because I really, I mean, we've talked. You're right. We have talked about this subject till we're blue in the face. My thing is pure speculation, and I have no desire to tread back down that water anymore. So,
All right.
um,
Next
it's
question,
yeah,
Chris Molesca.
yeah.
Have you seen any new wrinkles in the Bucks red zone offense? Well, I guess today would have been a great day to check that out, huh?
Mhm.
Uh,
I'll tell you what I've not seen because I thought about this when I saw this question. What I've not seen is I've not seen any smoothing out of their red zone offense. You know,
explain.
like if last year their red zone offense was not great. They could move the ball between the 20s, but once you got in the red zone, they couldn't do anything, right?
Right.
I have not seen stuff this year that makes me confident that they have figured out the red zone woes outside of maybe an improved offensive line, better chemistry with some of the other people. But we're not going to see that really until we get into the games. So I've not seen the old wrinkles get smoothed out yet enough to look at new wrinkles. Does that make
Yeah.
sense? So
Yeah.
that's
I
that's
guess
what I've seen.
I hear you, and I'm kind of right there with you. What new wrinkles, I guess, would mean, at least they mean to me, would mean plays that we saw in the red zone that we didn't see last year. Maybe using the same personnel in different ways than we saw last year. Now, the last OTA practice I went to, they worked a lot on that, and they scored a bunch of touchdowns.
Mhm.
Today would have been, like I said, would have been a day to sort of answer this question.
Yeah.
But I wasn't there. They cut practice a little early and crushed my little heart. But yeah, I can't tell you either way. Because they do switch in so much and rotate so much. No, I haven't seen like a toss pitch, thrown back to Jameis or Fitzpatrick, like a la, Brady or Foles in the Super Bowl. I haven't seen that. No, I haven't seen a tunnel screen to Djax on the 5-yard line to see if that works. And plus, all of these red zone thing, like it's really hard to judge how the run game is going without tackling to the ground. So every run that they have in the red zone, you really don't know if it went for 2 yards or 7 yards or 15 yards. Like there's just no way to really tell. And then if they are
Mhm.
tackling to the ground, well, running backs can break tackles. It's the percentages are low, probably less than 10%. But when you run 10 plays of those running games and you break one tackle, that 5-yard game turns into a touchdown or a 9-yard game. So I haven't seen any of these special plays or new wrinkles or really seeing how can I say this? Personnel that we had last year in different situations. But when I think it comes down to red zone offense, I think it's a lot of matchups, and it varies from team to team. Because when you get that close and the field gets that compressed, you need to start going to where your matchups are more than ever. And if that means we have to do like a halfback pass or a tunnel screen or a fade route that's not to Mike Evans, then because of what the defense type of players they have on that side of the ball. That's
Fair
what I'm
enough.
saying. Yeah, there's no razzle dazzle, raffle daffle.
All right.
Yep.
All right. Cool.
All right. All right. We got our last. At least I got my last set of questions from Andrew Cavallaro.
Yep,
Hope I'm
that's the
saying that.
last ones. Those are the last ones I see. I'm gonna let you. I got to take one more quick break. Go check on the baby, and because I see her right there, and I will be right back. But I'll let you go ahead and start that particular round of questions, Ren.
Yeah.
Right.
His Twitter handle is at a Cavallaro 90. Number one, biggest surprise player of training camp. Well, unfortunately, I'm sorry, we answered that early. Mine was Godwin, and not that he was surprised that he's good, but how good he's been. And then Kappa, because when they put him with the ones, he really held his own. And coming from Division 3, which once again, if you remember, it was a big deal about Alley coming from Division 2. Well, Kappa came from even a program below that as far as level of competition. Number two, biggest disappointment of training camp. Very good question. I like that. Let's see. I'm gonna have to go with Will Golston. Um, he's dropped some weight from last year when I actually put on weight. You know, I think fans were expecting big things from Will Golston last year. They gave him a new contract, and it was sack incentive. So they paid him like a defensive end rush stopper, but they put incentives in there where if you start to pile up sacks, you don't get more than 2 a year, 3 a year, uh, you'll get paid more money. So I thought that was a great contract for Golston. Um, and it didn't pan out. It just hasn't done well at all, and he struggled very early in camp. And I don't know if it's weight or Buckner's asking to do something he's just not comfortable with yet. But as far as someone who's disappointed me the most, I'm going to go ahead with Will Golston. But of course, there's plenty of times. I'm not saying I'm not even starting the narrative that he's going to get cut or anything like that. So that would answer that question. Brent, the first question that Andrew put in was biggest surprise of training camp. We answered that
Mhm.
already. So I just sort of recap my answer. And your answer was JPP. And then right below, biggest disappointment. And I said Will Golston. I might have stole your thunder on that one.
He certainly would qualify, but I got another one that I can give you.
Oh, good. Let's hear it.
My biggest disappointment is Ryan Griffin. Um,
Yeah.
Yeah, it just, if you heard yesterday's show, we talked about it then. Ryan Griffin looked lights out last year. All things equal, he was definitely winning the quarterback competition, just based on the eyeball test of what you could see in camp last year. This year, he very much looks like the third running back in a stable of three running backs, or running back quarterbacks. I mean, he's big. He doesn't look bad. That's the thing. It's not that he looks bad. He just doesn't look as good as he did last year. And so that's been a bit of a disappointment for me, in seeing him come back.
Yeah. Yeah. Good points there. Excuse me. I'm sorry. All right. In his last question, which is a two-parter,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go ahead and take this first because this is right in line of the question I actually asked Mike Smith yesterday at the presser. What do you think of the rotation of defensive linemen, particular JPP moving inside on third down instead of starting at end? What I asked Mike Smith was that we know last year that Jay Hayes was in charge of the rotation and also the line calls, and then Mike Smith would call the defense, but as far as who was in at what situation, the defensive lineman, and what they did once the ball was hiked was up to Jay Hayes. So my question was, uh, is Brenton Buckner going to be charged 100% of the defensive line rotation, or more of a advisory role? And Mike Smith was very quick to point out that no, I'm not. I can't quite sure if he said it was him or it's going to be a group effort. But definitely it's not up to Buckner 100% about who's in there on what play as far as down and distance goes. But then he went on to say that the rotation is going to change, which I thought was great, compared on who they play. So the
Mhm.
strength of the offenses is going to, or the offensive line, or the type of offense they run, or the more pass heavy or run heavy, is going to determine on who plays more. And I think that has something more to do with sort of the second wave than it does the first wave. Besides Vin Curry, McCoy, JPP, and Bo Allen,
Mhm.
I'm talking more about the Vita Veas, the Mitch Unreins, the Noah Spence, um,
Will Golston.
Will Golston, thank you, and right now I guess Will Clark. So I think those more the lines he's talking about. But what I like about JPP moving in the middle on third down, not only one, of course, gets Noah Spence on the field, keeps Vin Curry on the field, is that who do we play week one? We play the Saints. And
Mhm.
what bothers Drew Brees? A pass rush? Well, not really. You know why? Because he steps up in the pocket to avoid it. Now, if you got McCoy and JPP pushing that pocket into his lap,
Mhm.
that becomes a problem for Breeze. And I think that's the idea of getting JPP in there early to at the defensive tackle, so they can push the pocket into Drew Brees' lap, and where he's going backwards and throwing the ball instead of stepping forwards and throwing the ball. And I think personally that's the best way to attack Drew Brees and the Saints.
It's good points.
Want me to
I like
repeat the
it.
question?
What was the question? Yes.
What do you think of the rotation of the defensive lineman,
Yeah.
particularly JPP moving in on third down?
Um, I know that there has been some talk of just letting JPP stay out at the end and
Right.
just let him be at the end and let him do what he does best. Um, this is where I go back to the kind of the old answer. It's just training camp so far. Like what we've
Right.
seen has not been what we're going to simulate in a real game deal. So I, I, I don't know enough about defensive line stuff. Like I said, I'm an old offensive line guy. Like I watch it, I can kind of see what they're doing, but I can't sit there and say that I'm knowledgeable to say, well, this guy should rotate here and this person should be there and this person should be there. I'm enough of an old school guy that I'm like, hey man, put your four best people in there and just let them play all day long.
Yeah.
And they should suck it up. And if they get hurt, then we got another guy to slide in there. That is not what the current regime likes to do. So they want to rotate these guys out. Here's the deal. As long as it works, I don't care. Put JPP on the left, put him on the right, put him on the end right, put him on the end left, put him as linebacker. Hell, put him back as safety. I don't care as long as it works. And as long as Jay Hayes isn't calling it. So,
right. And
here's what actually, that said, I think I have seen enough out of Brinson Buckner over the last couple of days and through OTAs and things like that. And you've heard enough about him that whatever input he's going to have into that rotation, I'm good with.
yeah.
I'm good with kind of trusting what he says, and that I'm fine with that. Like, I don't have to worry about it now.
Yeah.
It's
And
kind of like that kicker thing. I don't have to worry about it.
It might have been a little too early to even ask that question. Maybe Mike Smith wants to eventually let Buckner handle that, but he
Mm-hmm.
has to sort of see Buckner in action through these,
Right.
4 preseason games and
Mm-hmm.
see if they're on the same page of what they're looking for, from a Mike Smith defense.
Mm-hmm.
I guess to answer this question as it's written is, what do you think of the rotation? It's like, they know more football than I do. Kind of like you said, like, you know, um, would I like to see this person there instead of this person here on this down and distance? Well, I don't know, because I've never seen them on a down and distance that they're at now.
Mm-hmm.
It's just they know more football than we do, and from what they're doing right now, you can't say it's not working.
Right.
There's nothing to go off.
Right.
And he finishes.
Here's what I can tell you. Here's what I can tell you about this defensive line. There's nobody on this defensive line that's supposed to be good in the game but doesn't like to practice.
Yeah.
Like that's not the case here. Like, these guys are putting in work. These guys are out there doing it. And there's a little bit where I kind of go back to my thing of, I have to reserve judgment on this whole thing until about week 6 of the regular season.
Yeah.
I just got to see how it's working. That's really, and I don't mean to brush off that question, but it's really just a matter of, is it working? And I'll tell you.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Andrew finishes off the tweet. Thanks for everything you guys do. Keep it up! Exclamation point.
You're very welcome, Andrew.
Yeah, of course. And that is the end of my. Wait, I just look at some more new notifications. Nope, that is it. That is the end of my Twitter questions. You said you had some from the.
Now we had the same ones, so we knocked them all out. Yeah.
Oh, all right, man.
Yep. So we're good. All right. Well, with that, Ren, I'll give you a chance for any final thoughts here as we wrap up the show. And when you're done with that, let people know where they can find you out there on the internet.
Well, we will have, like Brent said at the beginning, we'll have another show. We'll have 2 more shows today. We got Pulowski coming on, talk from Bucks Uncensored, talking about his their training camp takeover day. See, I had trouble with it too, which is coming Saturday. And then we'll be on with Gene Buck, what you heard, answering, questions from, his loyal listeners and YouTube watchers, and questions from Gene, talking about basically the 2 days that we spent there. I'm sure it's what's going to be about the 2 days and what we saw. So, if you want to hear what we have to say a little more, you can have Gene there, and then we'll have, basically it's just going to be a it's going to be it's going to be some information that possibly that people don't listen to Bucks Uncensored or follow Bucks Uncensored or know who Justin Pulowski is or know who the Stick Carriers are. We can get it out there because it's going to be a real fun day Saturday. We were there last year, and it was by far the easiest, easiestly the most funnerest, the best time we had at training camp for sure. And when they go in the indoor facility with the way that place echoes, it's gonna be like a rock concert. I guarantee it.
Yep. Cool. Where can people find you out there? Yeah.
My bad. Best way to find me is on Twitter at Rendax, REN_DAXT. I'm always down to talk Buccaneers football.
If you guys want to find me personally, I am at Brent Allen Live across all the social medias. You guys can follow me over there. And if you want to hit up the show at The Pewtercast on Twitter, facebook.com/ThePewtercast. Or if you're a little more long-winded, shoot us an email to thepewtercast@gmail.com. You can also find us on our YouTube channel at youtube.com/ThePewtercast, where we're kind of experimenting, doing some new things over there. So be sure to check out that experience. We're going to do what we can to up that whole thing over there as well. Also, please, if you want to support the show or you want to find out about supporting the show and how you can get some cool kickbacks, including things like this swanky Pewtercast coffee mug, which I'm drinking out of. I just received this the other day. You guys can go over to patreon.com/ThePewtercast, and we'll let you know how you can do that as well. So with that, Ren, I think we'll say until later today, and certainly until Saturday, go Bucks.